Thanks for having me out here today. It totally makes sense to have a cook out here doing for a presentation for GeekWire. I mean, I started doing emails like 3 weeks ago. You know, I mean, I'm glad I'm able to be out here. I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about what it's like being an entrepreneur. I'm probably going to do it a little bit of a different angle than you guys are used to. You know, I'm definitely a little bit more personally involved. I'm a little bit more of an emotional person. Definitely a little bit very arts-based from my background and my family. So we're going to talk about a few of those things. And just like, you know, every other chef in Seattle, this whole thing's going to be about me. So I'll talk about myself the whole time. So, you know, I mean, it's important for me to kind of, you know, to give you guys an idea of what it's like to be an entrepreneur and how, you know, for me, there's been a few different big key points for me and a few big key learning lessons that I've had along the way. So I think what's important for me is to go kind of back and give you guys a little bit of background about my history, where I come from, kind of what made me the person I am and how I run my business and why. So, you know, because we're all, you know, entrepreneurs, you know, you're so invested in what you do. It's so much of a crossover of personal life and work, and there's no like real on-off switch at all. So it's really kind of challenging to kind of figure out that balance between those two things. And, you know, if anybody here ever figures it out, come let me know. I'd love to know about it. You know, because we certainly have not figured it out, but we've kind of managed how to make it work for us. So basically, so one of the things I think I should talk about is, you know, I'm from Seattle. I grew up on Capitol Hill. You know, I went to, you know, St. Joe's and Seattle Prep, where probably some of you guys out there have or know people that have gone to that. I was kind of in that Capitol Hill market, you know. I grew up in a very arts-based household. My parents ran Pacific Northwest Ballet for 30 years. So if anybody here ever been to the Nutcracker? Okay, so my dad made the Nutcracker, you know. So this version that just ended this last year was my dad's production, and he did that, you know, for the ballet company. My mom was a ballet dancer and a teacher. My dad was a ballet dancer, and then he was an artistic director and a choreographer for a ballet company. So I grew up in a very arts-based household. My brother ended up being a professional ballet dancer. My brother, that's my oldest one. My brother Darren, who's the middle one, went into education, and now he's working for a startup as well. And then I was the youngest one, and I went into an arts-based thing, kind of like cooking. So, you know, I mean, as growing up in my household, I felt like it was a very rich way to grow up. You know, running around the opera house, running around ballet, being around a very artistic-based people, very fun, very creative, very engaging, very social people, high-energy people, which was a great upbringing for me. So the one thing I remember as a child, my parents kind of instilled in myself and my two brothers which is my first point. I'm going to give you guys 3 kind of points about where we've gone and what we've done in our company. The first one was do what you love. Do what you love to do. You know, there was no questions about that. My parents never cared about how much money we made. It was never a concern on their part. They honestly had this belief that if you did what you wanted to do, you would be successful in life. You know, if you work at something you love, money eventually will come, success will come. But you know, if you're not doing what you love to do, you're not going to really enjoy life. You're not going to live life to the fullest. And if you don't do that, you know, you're missing out on something great. So, you know, that was something that was really instilled in me at an early age, and I really kind of believed it, and I've kind of believed it my entire life, and I still believe it. I believe everyone should do what they love to do. And I think when you're talking about entrepreneurs, if you're doing something you love, it's just so much bigger and so much richer and so much more clear. Those little small decisions that you have to make on a day-to-day basis that really, you know, kind of make up your business and make you be able to run your business, they're so much easier when you love it. You know, if it's a battle or it's not very passionate to you, for me, it was very important for me to do cooking, right? So I started, and I don't know if anybody's had, I grew up Capitol Hill, but then I started cooking it after I went to college for a year and dropped out. So that made my parents super happy. But after that, I started cooking, and I don't know if anybody's here has ever had this experience. If you have, you'll kind of know exactly what I'm talking about, how great it is. The first day I started cooking was just the best day of my life. I literally knew from the second that I first started cooking that I was going to be doing it for the rest of my life. So I don't know if anybody here has had that kind of experience. If you have, you know how great it is, and it's just an awesome feeling to know that at least one path of your life is really taken care of, and it's all cleared out, right? So that's one of those things that for me was really a big thing. You know, I started off cooking at a small catering company on Queen Anne, and we did it. I mean, I did it because I went in there and I realized I was in a world where I would never learn everything. I just wouldn't learn everything, and there was always energetic people around. A lot of the people that we were working with were very creative individuals, very smart. You know, in the restaurant industry, there's a lot of out-of-work actors. There's a lot of artists that are struggling and need second careers. Whatever it may be, there's a lot of individuals that are highly creative and highly intelligent. So that was my main motivation about getting involved with cooking, was just the actual people. So I really enjoyed that process of cooking, and we ended up being, I say that I had a little bit of talent for it, and I actually mean that. I was a pretty good cook. I would say that I was more of a hard worker than a good cook. You know, I think in the restaurant industry, I don't know if has anybody here ever worked in the restaurant industry? You guys know what I'm talking about? You guys know what I'm talking about with the creative people in there too. You have a lot of fun. But so for me in the restaurant industry, for being a cook, I honestly believe that you need a small amount of talent and a large amount of work ethic and a large amount of resiliency and determination, you know, and an unending and undying passion to learn more. So if you have those traits where you're not winding working very much, you know, you can. I mean, there's probably a fair amount of crossovers between cooking and what you all do, and you guys can probably very easily relate to that. That hard work really is what it is. So I got into this restaurant business, and I realized I needed to grow up, and I needed to kind of grow and build my brand and build my name up in the community. So I started doing dinners and things like that, and working at restaurants and going from restaurant to restaurant learning until I opened my first restaurant. So my first restaurant I opened when I was 28 years old, and it was a huge success, right? I wouldn't say it was a huge success for what I was looking for at the time, okay? And what I was looking for at the time was critical acclaim. You know, I was looking for accolades. I was looking for acceptance. I was looking for, in all honesty, people to be impressed by what we do. You know, I thought the most important thing about cooking and running my own restaurant, because I really wanted to be my own boss, was having the absolute creative freedom to put whatever I want on that plate. I thought that plate of food, having it be the perfectly pristine and beautiful plate, was the most important thing to my business, right? So we did that, and in those regards, our business was a huge success. I mean, you know, you guys probably have heard of our restaurants. You guys probably have heard that what Ethan's restaurants do. You know, it's like, hey, his restaurants always work out. They're successful restaurants, and everything he does, it seems to structure and it seems to work out well. Just like I think everybody who has that said about them probably is not the case at all. It certainly wasn't the case with me. So, you know, we had this restaurant that was doing great from idea of media. You know, on the cover of Food and Wine magazines, on the cover of the Seattle Times, on the cover of Food and Wine, on Wine Spectator. You name the publication, we were on the cover of it at some point. And we felt like we could do no wrong, right? So we kind of sprung those accolades into a couple more businesses that we opened up, and it worked out great. You know, it worked out great. We never made a lot of money, but we had people being very enamored by us, very impressed with what we did, and it was great. I mean, you know, see, there's worse things that happen than that. And then I'm going to go back. I'm going to relink to my comment about do what you love. So, and then the recession hit. Anybody remember that from 2008, 2009? Not fun at all. So we were in a small business. We had 4 of them at the time, and we actually realized that the little money we were making wasn't good enough. You know, and we didn't know how to adjust that. We didn't know our model. We didn't know our model. We didn't know what we were doing as far as operating a day-to-day business. We weren't small business owners. I was still operating in this mindset of if I put beautiful food on the plate, it's going to be successful. That will carry me over. That'll get through everything. That's all I need to do, right? So for the first time in our careers, it wasn't. I mean, it totally was not. It was not at all. And going back to the thing I said about you have to love what you do, and all of a sudden we lost the business, so we had to fold one. We almost folded 2 others. and it was myself and my wife as my business partner. So we ended up having to not only change about the way that we thought about our business, and we needed to start addressing our own personal infrastructure and personal company culture. And instead of just deciding food was on the plate, we needed structure. We needed people buying into our program. We needed our employees to be preaching our message. We needed customers to come in and have a reason to come back. You know, before we never had conversations about value proposition, customer service, hospitality industries. What's the value proposition for the dishes and all these things. All those things we didn't have conversations about. Then we all of a sudden realized that we needed to, for one, which was important. And this is where it comes to the point that I had to teach myself to enjoy it. I had to teach myself to love to work on my business. And in all honesty, I did. I found through more structure in our company that, and also I'm not going to lie, it did take me out of the kitchen a little bit. But out of more structure through our company, we found that engaging with our employees was so much better. They were learning more. Before they were learning from me how to cook a little bit, but they all young cooks and all servers and managers, they all have an idea of what good food is, and everybody has their opinions about those things. But we were actually, and all of a sudden, building this model from the inside out. It started with my wife and myself about how we had to build this culture of people committing to us and committing to our company, and therefore having those people engage with our customers and have our customers being back into committed to us. So we started building this culture. So instead of using just one side of the brain, I realized that I had to use both sides to be successful. It probably resonates with some of you. Some of you have programs where you're, or starting up companies where you're, or wanting to start up companies where you think it's just solely this. But it's both sides for me. If anybody asks me what my strength is, I think it's that I've enjoyed cooking, and I've enjoyed being an artist, and I've enjoyed the educational and honestly teacher aspect of building a culture for our company, that I think my strength is actually left brain, right brain. So I feel like that's the one thing I try to give back to people. So, okay, so now we're at, this is where it gets a little bit personal. I hope everybody's all right with a little bit of a personal story. I'm okay with it. I hope you guys are okay with it. So we're now at this point in our careers. This is 2011. We feel we're on a pretty good track. So we've got our food figured out. We feel like we got our company culture pretty good. We feel like we understand how to operate our business. We're actually building a team. We feel like things are headed in the right direction. So myself and my wife, and this is where it gets a little personal. I'm not gonna say it. This is where it gets a little personal, and this is where this is the point I want you guys to pay attention to, with the aspect of how personal your life gets with being an entrepreneur and in your company. Okay? So my wife and myself decided it was the correct time for us to start a family. Okay? So now don't get me wrong, so we preface this. We have 2 kids already. We have 2 kids now. We didn't at the time. So we decided we wanted to start a family, and we actually had stillborn twins. Right? So we had late-term stillborn twins. This is a very personal story. But it's where I want to go, because I want you guys to understand how much personal connection with work and business is. Right? So we had twins that didn't make it. I know it happens to people, on occasion, and it's not a fun thing. But I found myself, in all honesty, in work not caring about it. After an experience like that, I couldn't make sense of what my value was, and why what I was doing was important at all. I had no idea. I actually didn't go to work. I didn't go to work for 4 months or so. I just didn't really understand why I gave one bit of a shit about making somebody dinner. Because I didn't care. And it wasn't that it was woe is me. It was just like, literally, it was just, I don't understand this. I have a business here, and I'm supposed to care a lot about it, and I'm supposed to dig in, but I didn't give a shit, right? So it took a lot of soul searching to figure it out. And this is my biggest and most important piece that I figured out, and I want you guys to understand, is that my most important piece is that make what you do matter. So for me and our company, our goal, when we sorted through all this and processed everything, we just wanted to be a good company. We wanted to be a company that engaged with our community. We wanted to be a company that engaged with our employees. We wanted to be a company that gave back to our community. We just wanted to have what we did, what we do and still do, have a point to it, you know? It's like, I honestly believe that there's really no magic in restaurants. I don't believe there's anything really that important about dinner outside of the aspect of you guys sharing it at the table. I think, you know, you can go in our restaurants and you'll have some really good meals, and I think you probably every once in a while have a bad meal. But does it really matter? You know, or does it matter that you guys are hanging at a table? Or does it matter, more importantly, that because of our business model and the culture we built, that we can now do, you know, I try to do a donation or charity event every week. So my goal is, my personal goal to myself is I'm going to do a charity event every week. You know, so that's 52 a year. And that's actively doing something, and that's because we've built our business model up so that we can afford to do it. We have the flexibility of schedule to do it. And it's all because we actually just figured it out. It's left brain, right brain. 3 things I found are really important. Do what you love. Understand there's multiple sides to your business. There's left brain, right brain, things you really got to care about and think about. And then whatever you do, make sure it matters and you care about it at the end of the day. That all makes sense, everybody? Everybody got a little quiet about the personal story. We have some time to answer questions or to ask questions, and I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have. I mean, I honestly hope you guys got some value out of this as far as just, you know, like I said, I don't think anything we do is rocket science, but I think what we do is valuable because myself, my wife, I feel like the majority of our employees, I won't say all of them, but I would say the overwhelming majority of our employees enjoys going to work, is proud of where they work, proud of their coworkers. I consider coworkers. You know, I don't know if you guys can say coworkers, employees. I know McDonald's calls them unit producers. That's just gross. Just so you guys know, we'll never ever call a coworker a unit producer. But, you know, so. You guys, thank you for listening to my story. I appreciate it. You guys, and good luck today. It's a very pleasure. It's my honor to be down here and get asked to talk to you guys. Any questions? Hi.
We've got one here. I think we're ready. Yes.
Hi, Ethan. Thanks for talking with us today and sharing your story. When you mentioned the volunteer and charity activities, what are examples of what do you do? Are you involved with Sack Lunch at all?
No, we've done. The question is, what kind of charities are we involved in? So, you know, I mean, I've got a personal thing for the restaurant industry. I think there's this thing I've been trying to teach. I've been trying to teach other restaurants, and it's financial wins through philanthropy. Honestly, I have a belief. I mean, I'll get your point, but I honestly have a belief that part of our business model is a faith-based business plan. Is that people will recognize that we donate to kids' charities and their schools, and we, you know, our company writes a check to the Girl Scouts, or, you know, we're doing a donation dinner at the Henry, or, you know, we're doing something for the Seattle Art Museum at the park. It's usually dinner-based things, whether it's a donation event or it's me actually going and cooking somewhere. It tends to be a lot of me going and cooking somewhere. I mean, like literally, we don't do, you know, there's a lot of asks out there for restaurants, like, hey, come and do this event down at this place, and it's going to be this, and you know, it's a I don't know, whiskey tasting or whatever, and we want you to do this. This would be really good for your brand. And my first question is always, is there a charity component to it? And they say no. I don't even think about it. You know, I don't, because if they're asking me to spend a day out of my life to promote my brand, I can do that in 1,000 different ways. I can do that in 1,000 different ways where it benefits something besides nothing important, you know. So for me, that's a big piece. So I mean, we tend to just do, you know, a lot of donation stuff, a lot of dinners at people's houses, a lot of dinners for, you know, for the arts-based things. We do heavily arts-based stuff just because of my background and my family.
So Ethan, another question here. David Geller.
Hi, Ethan. How do you use technology in your restaurants and food work?
How do we use technology in our restaurants? You know, I think for the most part, I won't lie to you, we're not the biggest tech-based company out there. You know, I mean, it really is, you know, as far as technology, we do have certain programs. We track all of our sales and track our percentages and track our labor numbers and all that stuff. That's the majority of things. I mean, I honestly think that, you know, I mean, my belief is we have a few key components of our business, and and it's food costs, labor costs, beverage costs. Those are the 3 big ones for us. And as long as they're in the ballpark, and in all honesty, I'd prefer they were actually a little bit high. I'd prefer that. Well, let me put it this way: I would prefer that the food costs a little bit high. As long as there's no waste, at least we're giving something back. If it's high, I have a less of an issue with it if I know these people are diligent and not wasting any product than if it's too low. So yeah, everybody here knows volume-based business. We're a volume-based business just like everybody else. Our business is made up by, say you do 100 covers in a night. The first 90 covers are the ones that pay all the bills, but the last 10 are the profit. So if it takes us 90 covers to get to break even that night, if we do 10, that's okay. If we do 40 beyond that, then we're doing okay. So we're a volume-based business company. And we just, our thing is just like getting the most people in the door. Anything we can do to do that. So it's a lot of social media stuff, a lot of blogs, posts, and things like that. I think the good thing about what's going on out there is that it's very easy to tell your story. So for what we do, say if we go and do something, we definitely tell people, hey, come check us out down at the Pike Place Market like we did last week. There's an Inspire Youth Dinner we're a part of. We'd be happy to have you guys come down and take a part of it.
So we got one last question here.
Hey, Ethan, thanks. So restaurant work is really hard. It can be really taxing mentally, physically, and all of the above. What I'm curious to know is now that you've found your meaning for your business, how do you get to your employees and communicate that meaning to them that drives them forward in the same way that drives you?
The question is how do I get people to, essentially you're asking how do I get people to buy into our culture and our meaning for what we do? Yeah. So the first part is an important one. So the restaurant industry is a lot of work. Everything's a lot of work if it bothers you. Everything's a lot of work. Everything's a lot of work if it's hard for you to do it. So like I said, back to the first thing is like if you love what you do, it's not going to be as hard. Not going to be as many hours. It's not going to feel hard. So how do we do it? It sounds, we have 225 employees. I would be willing to wager to bet that every single one of those people in our company knows that we want to have them have a good day at work. We want them to have a good day at work. We don't want them to be unhappy at work. We don't want them to feel taken advantage of or work too hard. We just want them to have a good day at work. So if we can create an environment, our environment is really simple. We spread the word of saying, hey, treat people how you want to be treated. One of the sayings in our company is if you respect me, I'll respect you, and then we can both respect our customers and our business. Very simple. A lot of words that we use around our company meetings are respect, hospitality, customer care, value proposition, all meaningful words that have that people can understand what they mean. Like cool, that's not a fucking word. That doesn't help. We're not trying to be cool. We're trying to be good to our customers. We're trying to be good to our employees. We're trying to be good to our community. If you have that kind of thing, and one of the things that I think that's been really good for us, one of our guy who handles the majority of our service staff members, he's our service director essentially. He's also in charge of doing a company in company newsletter, and he's always going and asking people, "What'd you do on the weekend? What'd you do? Have you gone on vacation? If you do stuff, tell me." Because he puts in a newsletter in a funny way. He's a great writer, and it's a really nice way for people to engage and see what they have been doing, what have they been up to, what's part of what's been going on. Sometimes it's really happy, fun news, and sometimes it's sad news. If somebody's father passes away, we put that in as well. So because you want people to understand why they are unhappy at work. It's what's going on in people's lives. The other thing we're doing as far as on the chef side, or we're actually currently working on this, is we have a website for all of you people to go in and see what the menu is, what our restaurant's about, pricing and all that stuff. But we're also right now currently building a second website for just our chefs, so that they can go in and they have to upload a picture and a menu description. So it's just like, imagine it's just like a regular menu, but it has a picture on it. So that's just for our chefs. So they can go see what the other chefs in our company are doing, what products they're using, how they're presenting things, what they're doing as far as their own personal value equation in that business. Because sometimes the chef from How to Cook a Wolf doesn't get over to anchovies and olives or red cow very often. They go out to dinner on their nights off, but sometimes you don't want to go to work. But you still wouldn't mind seeing what Kyle at Anchovies and Olives is putting on his menu and how big his portions are. So then it also gives us the ability for us to make sure everything's easier, make sure everything's really looking good. So, all right, well, No questions? You guys, thank you very much.